So the muscle is a highly organized structure. Okay, so we start off with this big global structure here, and we're basically peeling off different layers so that we can start to understand what actually causes the muscle to contract or to get smaller. Okay, so there's certain definitions that you need to know. So your fascia, it surrounds the entire muscle. Okay, so it surrounds the entire muscle, and it's a broad protective fibrous sheath. And this fibrous sheath, the one that covers the whole muscle, is called the epimysium. Okay, so the fascia surrounds the whole muscle. That's called the epimysium. Okay, now this one muscle contains bundles of muscle fiber. So as you can see, you've got one big muscle here, and then if you just take out one of these, this is a bundle of individual muscle fibers. So muscle is composed of bundles of muscle fibers which are surrounded by another layer of fascia called the perimysium. Okay, so the covering of this whole bundle of muscle fiber is called the perimysium. Okay, the whole muscle is the endomysium. The covering of individual muscle fibers is the perimysium. So if one muscle fiber was taken from the bundle, okay, so we're going to take away, so this is the bundle of muscle fibers, and we're taking one of these out, yeah, this is covered by the endomysium. Okay, so epimysium, perimysium, endomysium. And then the single muscle fiber consists of tiny myofibril. Okay, and this is where the magic happens in terms of muscle contraction. So this myofibril is broken up into different sections, as you can see here, and these different sections are called sarcomeres. And sarcomere is the functional unit of a muscle and consists of two types of myofilaments. These myofilaments are called myosin, which you can see here, and these are the thick filaments which are in blue, myosin, and then actin are the thin filaments in between. And this is what causes the muscles to contract. Okay, so just as a review, the covering or the fascia that surrounds the whole muscle is called the epimysium. The bundles of muscle fiber are covered by the perimysium, and the fascia that covers the individual muscle fiber is called the endomysium. When you pull one of the filaments out, you've got a myofibril, which is broken up into sections called sarcomeres. These sarcomeres contain two small protein filaments called myosin, which is the thicker one of the two, and actin. Okay, just to review, because I know that's quite a lot of theory, I'd like you to complete the following sentences. So the sheath that surrounds the entire muscle is called the bundles of muscle fiber are surrounded by, one muscle fiber is surrounded by, a myofibril consists of many units called. Okay, so let's look at a structure of a sarcomere. Okay, so within the myofibrils there are contracting units of muscle called sarcomeres. These are the smallest functional components of the skeletal muscle. Okay, so here's a diagram of a sarcomere, and we're now going to go through a concept called the sliding filament theory. So during the contraction, the cross bridges between the myosin and actin filaments pull them towards one another. So this is known as the cross bridges because they overlap. So you've got the myosin, which is the thicker ones, and then you've got the actin, which is the thinner ones, and they overlap. Okay, so when a muscle is in its contracted state, these lines, which are called the Z lines, actually move closer together. So as you can see here, the distance between the Z lines are different to here, okay, which is the relaxed position. So when it's being pulled towards each other, this increases the overlap and pulls the Z lines towards one another. And this process is called the sliding filament theory. So let's have a look and see how, if we can explain this in slightly better detail for you.
Filament theory, 1 of 3.
Okay, so basically this is the sarcomere. So you've got the Z line, you've got the myosin, and then you've got the actin. Okay, so what happens is, as the muscle is in a relaxed state, you have a big gap here. Then as the muscle becomes more contracted, becomes more tense, or gets smaller, these lines come together. They pull together, pull together, pull together, pull together, so that the muscle's in a fully contracted state. So this is relaxed, and they're pulling together, and these filaments here actually latch on to the actin and actually pulls them towards each other, almost like rowing a boat. Okay, and let's see if we can show that here.
Sliding filament theory, 3 of 3.
Okay, so as you can see, so this is the myosin, and it's latching onto the actin here to pull the Z lines closer together. Let's look at the role of the nervous system. So here we have bundles of muscle fibers. Okay, then you have the nerve. Okay, so this is the motor neuron, and these are basically the branches of the motor neuron. The motor neuron is basically the nerves. So in order to make a muscle contract, a signal is sent via the nervous system. Muscle contraction happens as a result of a nerve impulse from the motor nerves, which is here within the muscle. Each muscle fiber is linked to the central nervous system by a network of nerves. A motor unit consists of a single motor nerve or a motor neuron, which connects to the muscle at the motor end plate. So this is basically the end of here. These are the motor end plates. And all the muscle fibers that receive a stimulation from that motor nerve. So basically, as many branches as this motor neuron has, if it sticks onto more muscle fibers, then it can create a much stronger muscle contraction. Now, muscles are always in a slight state of tension, ready to react from their nerve supply. Without this muscle tone, the body would collapse. When a nervous stimulus occurs, the muscle fibers work according to what is known as the all or none principle. In other words, muscle fibers do not partially contract, they contract fully or not at all. The strength of a muscle contraction will depend upon the number of muscle fibers brought into use. For example, to lift a light weight, only a few muscle fibers in the muscle will contract to their maximum, the rest will remain inactive. To lift a heavier weight, more muscles will be required, and this process is called motor unit recruitment. And your mind can actually play a trick on you, because if you go to lift, say for example, a bucket, and you think it's going to be really heavy, your brain conditions you to be prepared to recruit a lot of muscle fibers. And then when you lift the bucket up and it's lighter than you think it is, you lift it up really quickly. Okay? Similarly, if someone passes you something that's really small and you condition yourself that it's going to be quite light, you're setting yourself up for only recruiting a few muscle fibers. And then if it's heavier than you're expecting, then you'll have to very quickly recruit other muscle fibers in order to lift the weight.